This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Hello, I'm Michael Cutler, and this is the Michael Cutler Moment brought to you by the Glazov Gang. Thank you for joining me. This evening I want to talk to you about Hillary Clinton and her immigration policies and the impact that they would have on America and Americans, and in particular, American black and minority communities. You know, our immigration laws were enacted for two primary purposes: to protect innocent lives and the jobs of American workers. I spent 30 years of my life as an immigration officer. 4 years I was an immigration inspector at Kennedy Airport, and for 26 years I was an immigration special agent. I spent half my career with the Drug Task Force. I've arrested terrorists in my career. Numerous congressional hearings on this issue, and it's an issue that is close to my heart. It's been my life's work. If you look at the purpose of our immigration laws and you look at the laws themselves, you realize quickly that this is not about race or religion or bigotry, although this is something that Hillary Clinton and her supporters and open borders advocates frequently claim. Our immigration laws are completely blind about race, religion, ethnicity. In point of fact, if they weren't, I could not have enforced those laws. My family was decimated in the Holocaust. I'm Jewish. I was named for my grandmother who died in Poland. Our laws are simply designed to keep out people whose presence would be problematic, irrespective of race, religion, or ethnicity. If you go to Title 8, United States Code, Section 1182, and I don't want this to be a law lesson, but I want to provide to you incontrovertible proof that what I'm telling you is accurate. Title 8, United States Code, Section 1182, enumerates the categories of aliens who are supposed to be excluded from the United States. And the categories include aliens who have dangerous communicable diseases or are seriously mentally ill, prone to violence, or sex offenders. Criminals, human rights violators, war criminals, aliens who've been previously deported, and those aliens who are either likely to become a public charge or, if they worked, would cause them to displace American workers, thereby unemploying Americans and, at the very least, driving down wages and working conditions for Americans who are similarly employed. This is the purpose for our laws. I've arrested aliens from all over the world, not just Latin America. I've arrested aliens from Europe, from Asia, from the Caribbean. You name it, I've probably encountered and arrested them. By flooding the United States with foreign workers, and Hillary Clinton has been perfectly clear on this, she wants to legalize the unknown millions of illegal aliens who are currently present in the United States. There may be as many as 30 million or more. These folks would immediately be entitled to work here in America. And while she may claim this isn't an amnesty, and other politicians may claim it isn't, it most certainly is. But I don't care about the term amnesty. I care about the damage it would do. This would put these newly legalized aliens into direct competition with Americans who can no longer find work. We now have 95 million Americans of working age who have left the labor force. The administration comes up with a ridiculous labor statistic or unemployment statistic of 5%. My goodness gracious, this is as absurd and as big a lie as anything I've ever heard. The unemployment rate in the black communities and in the minority communities are even higher. So what we're really talking about is making certain that the down escalator that all American workers are trying to get on is running ever faster. And when we have as many millions of illegal aliens in the United States right now taking the bottom rung jobs that generally America's less educated workers take, what it means is that the aliens will get the job each and every time, because they can be exploited. And the people that want this condition to continue are the open borders advocates. They want that endless supply of cheap and exploitable labor. It is a modern form of slavery, and the bonds of slavery here is poverty. Poverty and crime go hand in hand. And by not securing our borders, we have a massive influx of narcotics into the United States. I don't care what the administration says about border security. Look at the fact that today America is in the midst of the worst heroin epidemic in history. In fact, in my hometown of New York City, nurses in public schools, in fact, think about this, nurses in public schools have been provided with the antidote to heroin overdoses. Heroin is not manufactured in the United States. The The only way that heroin gets into the United States is by being smuggled, and it's being smuggled by transnational narcotics trafficking organizations from Latin America, as well as from Asia and the Middle East. The proceeds of the drug trade go directly into the coffers of the drug gangs and terrorist organizations as well. And meanwhile, children who become hooked on heroin lose their futures. Kids and adults that are hooked on heroin often turn to crime to support their habits, and their futures are bleak. And this is what we're experiencing today with porous borders and a lack of immigration enforcement. People who can't find work, people who wind up getting involved with criminal activity, become involved with narcotics. And meanwhile, we face an existential threat by ISIS and other international terrorist organizations that know that in order to attack us, they need to enter our country. In fact, that was one of the points made by the 9/11 Commission, that border security is a direct element and an important element of national security. So Hillary Clinton goes out and says, well, if you want the immigration laws enforced, you're a bigot. Well, that's an absolute lie, but it's only one of many that she has been telling. The charge of bigotry is common, used by the open borders advocates who know that they can't argue the facts, so they argue by launching vicious, nasty, and false accusations against anybody who would suggest that we secure our borders and protect our citizens. What you also need to know is that the most likely victims of transnational criminals, irrespective of where in the world they come from, whether it's Latin America, Russia, Asia, the Caribbean, Africa, the Middle East, it doesn't matter. Every group of people have the same good, the bad, and the ugly. This isn't about race or religion. The most likely victims of the crimes perpetrated by those gangs are the immigrants living within those ethnic immigrant communities. But when you look at the bleak situation that so many black children have today in America, you look at the record levels of unemployment in those communities, the record levels of narcotics being trafficked, and the violence and the hopelessness, it's pretty obvious to anybody, I think, that the solution is to end the cycle of poverty, to make certain that Americans get the jobs. You know, prior to the Second World War, the immigration laws were enforced by the Labor Department. The greatest generation understood that for America to do well, Americans needed to do well. Americans can do well provided we stop the cycle of importing more foreign workers every month than the number of new jobs that we are creating. And believe it or not, that's exactly where we are today. More foreign workers enter America every month than the number of new jobs being created. This is an untenable situation. It's not a sustainable situation. And it's not about being a Democrat or a Republican. And in point of fact, I'm a lifelong registered Democrat. This is about being American. It's not about left or right. It's about right or wrong. So I want all of you to pay attention to what's happening. I want you to do the math. Do the math. I've written articles about this for both Front Page Magazine and Californians for Population Stabilization and the Social Contract. Ever since 9/11, I've been determined to get as many of my fellow Americans as possible to understand the true nature of our immigration laws and the true significance of our borders and our laws. Final point, every state is a border state. It's not just about the Mexican border. Any state with an international airport, any state that lies along our 95,000 miles of coastline or lies along our northern or southern borders or border states, the real key is to enforcing the immigration laws from within the interior of the United States. And it seems that now that Donald Trump has started talking about interior enforcement, and he's been talking about it for quite some time, out of desperation, I have to presume, I don't know what's in her head, Hillary has launched more attacks equating immigration law enforcement with racism. We have to get beyond that, folks. Our borders are our first and last line of defense. We need the border secured, we need our laws enforced, and we need to get Americans back to work. They are truly exceptional workers. My final point, the only thing exceptional about foreign workers is they will work for exceptionally low wages under exceptionally adverse conditions. That is truly un-American. We need to change this. Thank you so much for listening. Please support the Glazov Gang at jamieglazov.com and make certain to subscribe to that website on YouTube channel. Thank you so much. See you next time.